Yeah. Like you said, we got 1,000 days. I know this is a finite gig. I'm not here to be a career politician. I'm here to make a change, and then I'm tapping out and going fishing and diving. That's the plan.
David here, halfway through my chat with Louise Aitken and Minister Henare about supporting the social enterprise movement to thrive from Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's been 3 years since I began reporting on social enterprise from New Zealand via this Making Positive Dents digital audio project. Thanks to everyone who supported this project to get to air, from more than 100 guests to my 7 guest co-hosts of the last 1,000 days. I especially want to shout out BizDojo and Collider Wellington for their critical support over the last year, which has enabled me to devote considerable time and energy to building this project. Right, let's get back to my chat with Lou and the Minister, where we touch on what government is working towards to support enterprise impact growth. Also, we consider the impact and legacy from the 2017 Social Enterprise World Forum, and we're looking ahead to next month's 10th edition in Edinburgh. Let's start, though, with that unique collaboration between government and Arkina Foundation. So, the Social Enterprise Sector Development Programme between government and Arkina, is this unusual?
I had a conversation with someone about 2 weeks ago from Canada, and I was talking about the things that we're doing, and I could hear this intake of breath when I told her about what we were doing in partnership with government. And she said, "Oh, how? How do you do that?" And I think that as a country, sometimes we underestimate how you can work with government in a different way in New Zealand than maybe is possible in other countries.
No pressure, right?
No. But I think that's the opportunity is, Arkina, I was talking to our new board member, Tina Parau, yesterday, and she gifted Arkina its name. And it is from a very unique dialect from Ngāti Parau, which means bold encouragement.
In Arkina, not only do we find a good partnership, we find a well-connected partner with the sector, with the community, with those who have tried and failed and those who have tried and succeeded and all those things, which is why partnership for us was a no-brainer.
There are so many organisations and individuals who are part of this. We have our Community Enterprise Network Trust Partnership, who represents 60 organisations in the community enterprise space. We have partnerships with Māori Women's Development Inc., with Inspiring Communities and Inspiring Stories, Inclusive New Zealand. Lots of organisations who are really committed to seeing a sustainable, prosperous New Zealand. The Sustainable Business Network, who are really trying to transform business to do better. This is not just one organisation working with one department within government. And that's the exciting thing, because we have lots of cool conversations, challenging conversations, because we all come at it quite different points of view. But we all ultimately are there for the collective impact of what this could potentially deliver. And that's exciting.
Regional development. Related to social enterprise, there's quite a bit of work going on in the background related to supporting the regions as well.
Look, I think there are huge opportunities in the region. I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a small town up in the far north. They've been ignored, which is why we've focused on the regions. And there's huge opportunity there at the same time. So, with that focus in mind, I was in Kaitaia recently and caught up with, Cliff wasn't there, couldn't be there sadly, but I caught up with the social enterprise up there, and just, it's in these rural areas where we see our environment at its best. And so, there's great opportunities there for social enterprise and a focus that'll grow other prosperity measures for community, like when I went to that social enterprise, Seabeck up in Kaitaia, I was blown away. I've been fishing in Kaitaia for years, never seen them. And then walk in there and see all the people they're employed, all of the enterprise that channels through them. In Auckland, you can live there for 20 years and not know your neighbour. In the regions, it's very different. So there's a different community spirit. which is where I think a lot of opportunity lies for social enterprise, is that kind of community can do, let's get on with each other kind of spirit that I've always seen in the region.
To add to that, I think that there is such a significant strength from those communities, and social enterprise offers a solution to be able to take that strength into a market, whether it's a market within the community themselves and delivering community services such as the like of CBEC, doing some amazing stuff on behalf of partners such as the councils and the like, or actually exporting those skills and strengths out to other markets. How do we harness that? How do we enable the communities themselves to understand and accelerate their own strengths, being able to develop social enterprise that's right for them? And so how can we help with that as far as a connector, as far as an opportunity to provide insight and resources and IP and the like, but actually to enable the community to develop it further themselves, because it's got to be done by the community for the community. So the opportunity for regions themselves to embrace that enterprise for their skill set is extraordinary.
There's two other key things I'm really interested just to explore quickly about kind of the government perspective on social enterprise. And they're kind of what I'd call government products. The first being policy and the second being legislation.
A simple policy that would see a better integration of public service and policy for deliverables and social enterprise is an easy one in my opinion. But at the moment, the system isn't set up that way. So the partnership with government is on the money. It's a partnership with government. While it's administered through the Department of Internal Affairs, actually we need it to be a partnership with government. So the policy setting should be MB, it should be Te Puni Kōkiri, it should be all of these other organisations in the public service that operate in the policy, regulation, delivery of service arena. Should be the policy, one policy to help social enterprise would be one that allows a focus not just on the deliverable of service and policy, but procurement, which is what was mentioned earlier.
And I think that's a really good one to kind of get your head around what that policy could look like. Government spend a lot of money on goods and services. That's a big part of what they do. So how can an individual ministry who's buying services from the market actually get value for the whole of government by buying it from a social enterprise? And a great example is there's an extraordinary social enterprise in Christchurch called Pathway, and they do a huge amount. They've got a number of enterprises under their banner, and they do a lot to help transition men out of prison into gainful employment and help them deal with a lot of the social issues that they face. And the great thing that we're doing as partnership with government is we've set up a cross-agency steering group to actually have these big conversations. What is the power of the collective, and how can social enterprise be something that is understood as valuable in the procurement setting to actually solve some of the environmental or social impacts that another ministry may be focused on?
Minister, is Lou an easy person to say yes to?
She's persistent, but passionate.
Yeah.
Look, everywhere I've been, whether it's with Lou but in other social enterprise settings, the community and the sector are passionate. They see a vision that I can buy into. We just need everyone else to buy into it, my colleagues and others. Because as we were talking and I was thinking about procurement and how Treasury and government departments take CBECs, they call it, just a standard sort of cost-benefit analysis of any procurement kind of venture or whatever it might be. That's still based on a traditional economic model of analysis, cost-benefit analysis. So, we do have some challenges, there's no doubt about it. But I take the point that if it's not just about turning on the fire hose, but also making sure that the settings for long-term generational systematic change is good.
The second is legislation. There's no legal structure for a social enterprise at the moment. You're either a charity or you're a business. give us any insider track on that thought?
Well, first and foremost, we're reviewing the Charities Act. It's 13 years old. We know in the country now we have 28,000 registered charities, and that says two things. One, we're a giving people. Two, it's a very busy sector. And you got charities from small, large, and everything in between. And I'd love to see that space is tidied up, and legislation can allow us to do that.
And I think to add to that, we are going to conduct a piece of legal research that's going to be supported not only by the Law Foundation, but also 3 significant law firms, to be able to actually understand and gain the evidence of the barriers that are currently in place for social enterprises from a legal standpoint, and then to work with MB and others to be able to understand how we remove those barriers. And with that, I think comes one of the biggest, questions that exists within social enterprise at the moment is, what is the definition? Now, that is not an easy question. And what is it in our terms as far as Aotearoa? What does it mean if you have a definition? What is the benefit of being able to call yourself a social enterprise? But also with that, what comes the responsibilities? So, these are not easy conversations, and what we want to be able to do is actually surface these big opportunities and then find the solutions to unlock them. And we need to do that as a sector collectively with the partnership from government who actually has the big levers through policy changes.
11 months from last year's incredible New Zealand 9th showing of the forum. Looking back, what do you think has changed or has improved or is different, Lou?
I think lots of things have changed. I think the opportunity to bring the sector together and continue the conversation that we had in Christchurch last year is there. But also, we're starting to see a maturing in being able to articulate the needs and being able to understand, what are the things that we need as Aotearoa versus what we can just import from overseas. But also come with, a demand of actually what do we need to learn and what do we need to share. And I think that we've realised as a result of the success of last year is that our voice matters and that we're heard. And I think that's growing up that we're doing and being able to be confident in our conversations that we're going to have.
Will New Zealand have the second biggest delegation going to this year's Edinburgh Forum? Because it sounds like there's about 70 people committed to going there this year.
Well, we've certainly been very lucky in the being able to support organisations going up. So with the support of Minister Henare, we've had a bursary fund which was significantly oversubscribed, 196 people applying for what became 21 people going.
Minister, don't want to put you on the spot, but you've had a hand in choosing those 21 people. Perhaps just talk about maybe one or two of those who spring to mind who've been awarded bursary funding. What do you think they're going to get out of it?
So those experiences I've had with a couple of the successful people, one was just, I was walking down the terrace in Wellington and this young guy stopped me and goes, "Minister, you don't know me, but I've just been successful in getting a seat or a ticket to the World Forum, and I'm really excited, and I'm young. I've got my own ideas, and Louise will know the breakdown a bit better than me, but we've got young representation, we've got Māori representation, we've got lots of women, just a broad picture of Aotearoa."
A hugely diverse selection of people, which I think, like you say, represents what is the contemporary New Zealand, which I think is fantastic.
It's going to be exciting.
You're going to have a great time.
My birthday while I'm there, so
really,
I think we'll be having a couple of whiskies.
There might be some whiskey involved, I would hope.
Superb. Which really neatly leads on to, where did you get the idea for an Aotearoa Social Enterprise Forum from?
that certainly wasn't our idea. It became really obvious at the World Forum last year, the value that people got out of it, and not just the social entrepreneurs and enterprises, but everybody from the wider ecosystem. So we knew that we needed to be able to create the opportunity for people to get back together. And so while it's not going to be to the same scale, thank goodness for Elaine, who did the World Forum last year, but it's just the vehicle for people to be able to continue the conversation and be able to understand and talk about the needs that they have, the opportunities that they see.
Outcomes for ASEF. What are you hoping for?
Connection, conversation and opportunities.
I'll roll out with some audience questions if you don't mind. Nothing too scary here. I think we've covered off what makes an organisation a social enterprise. If people want to check out our keynote or the Impact Initiative's website, there's some great definitions there that can be really helpful. Progress with government on deciding whether social enterprise is to get a specific legal structure. I think we've touched on that as well. What are some of the ways we can ensure we protect the emerging social enterprise sector from accusations of social washing? A little bit like greenwashing, by some who might co-opt the term social enterprise to sell more stuff without the substance of truly acting for a purpose beyond profit.
It really comes back to that whole definition and the whole support that's available for social enterprises. Particularly based on our current legal structures, it becomes a really difficult thing. And I think what we need to focus on in the social enterprise space is not necessarily just the profit question. Let's actually focus on the impact first, because social enterprises who have created a market for them are different from charities as a result. And consumers make a choice, and that choice is often driven by the impact that organisation is delivering, impact that matters to that person, and so therefore they're spending their money in that way. And I don't think that we want to discourage that at all. We want to be able to support and grow it. And so yes, it's a difficult question, but it comes back down to how do we support and create a definition that is right for us as a society, and therefore enables the growth of social enterprise as a result, not limiting it or scaring people away from it.
Minister, what was your first job?
My first job, other than helping out in our family business and stuff, but my actual first paid job was I was a cadet in the public service exactly 20 years ago this month, fresh out of school, 18 years old. And was a case manager for what was then the New Zealand Employment Service.
Worst job?
I've had some pretty crappy jobs, I mean, a lot of students, just like most students, cleaning, furniture removal and office removal, all that sort of stuff. And but I've never thought I've had a absolute crappy job. They served a purpose at their time.
Best job?
Oh, it's definitely this job, without a shadow of a doubt. This is a job I always wanted to do. I realise it's a finite gig. I just hope that the country doesn't fall apart under my watch.
Is it the busiest you've ever been?
Yes. We did a quick stock take recently, and I did 104 working hours in that week, and it's not safe, it's not healthy, but, and that's just the demand of the job.
And realising we've got literally 1 minute left, just want to round out with a signature question we ask all of our guests on the show, which if there's an analogue, object, item or thing that you can't live without, what would it be?
I'm actually a lot like Louise here. My father passed away 3 years ago, and he's the reason I'm here. And I don't mean it because he's my dad, but he shaped my career. He grew me like social enterprise almost to do this job. And, he taught me te reo Māori, the value of culture. So, I, like Louise, have a photo of my father in my office, in my house. It's just, it's a heartstring one, that one. But, I'm coffee free, by the way, so it's not a coffee machine.
It's almost like it was decided for you that you were going to be joining the family firm, and I mean politics, not just the other family firms that you have.
Yeah, no, it was, every young Māori boy wanted to be an All Black or a Kiwi, and I was no different. But the old man was, no, you're going to study this, you're going to do this, you're going to meet these people. And I didn't think it would happen so soon, but, to get into Parliament at 34, I was stoked.
Our time is done. I appreciate I've been given the hard stare about 5 times in the last 5 minutes. I just want to extend my grateful thanks firstly to Minister Henry and also to Louise Aitken for joining me today.
Ngā mihi nui.
Yeah, kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora, it's David here, rounding out my chat with Lou Aitken and Minister Henry, recorded here in the Pod Cave at BizDojo Co-work Wellington. You can continue the conversation on Twitter with Lou at Lou Aitken and Minister Henry at Peony Henry. Connect with me, David Binstead, at David_Binstead, and the show at Twice Podcast. Those Twitter names are also linked in the comprehensive show notes, accessible via your podcast app of choice and via twicepodcast.com. Episodes now also feature chapter markers, making it easy to jump to specific topics in the conversation if you're listening in a supported podcast app like Overcast or Pocket Casts. Here's a few of my takeaways from the episode. The value in consistently playing the long game. Arkina is a successor of Hikurangi Foundation, itself supported by the Tyndall and Todd Foundations. The advancing state of social enterprise in New Zealand is due to the efforts of a huge and diverse cohort of people committed to seeing positive impact at scale, and it's great to be updated on some of the inside track from Arkina Foundation. What was mentioned in the episode as passion, but feels like it runs deeper, with everyone committed to making impact in and for local communities. Whether as a social entrepreneur building a new venture, as any one of many regional and national networks who have been striving for years to effect positive social change, and now individuals, teams and agencies in government committed to seeing social enterprise as an important part of a solutions framework for a more equitable and fair society. That's not to say there aren't plenty of challenges in building and embedding this movement from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Just a few of those which were covered in this episode. Access to capital for social entrepreneurs to grow remains at a really early stage, as mentioned in discussion about the first out of the blocks Impact Enterprise Fund. Clear and robust social enterprise definitions. Policy development and implementation and research into legislation that supports, not hinders, social enterprise development. Procurement and marketplace development. And also support, outreach and education, both for specific enterprises and for the communities in which they serve. And probably lastly for me, a realisation that boldness brings risks, but also great dividends. I'm really grateful to the following organisations and companies for their support. Do Good Jobs, Plankton Agency, Arkina Foundation for Episode 84 support, BizDojo and Collider Wellington for their continuing support to get the show into your ears, and also the many other individuals, too numerous to mention here, who've given valuable financial and or moral support over the last 3 years. It'd be great if you'd share a favourite episode with your mates via a short note, and also show them how easy it is to subscribe by searching for Talks with Innovators via Apple Podcasts, Spotify and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks again to episode 84 guests, Lou and Peony, and most importantly, a big thank you to you, our listeners, for the show reviews on iTunes and giving us time between your ears. It means a lot. A quick personal note to advise that while I wasn't successful in securing bursary funding to get to the 10th Social Enterprise World Forum in Edinburgh this September, I'm stoked that a really diverse crew of 21 recipients will join a massive New Zealand delegation at the event. I've linked to a short read at the end of the show notes about what that means for the show. Cheers.
And you know, the story I want to tell is when the Prime Minister got the gig, that fateful night, when she got the gig and she was about to talk about some policies, and she rang me and she said, Penny, as a native Māori speaker, write me a mihi. And I said, no. I said, I'll do something better. I'll teach you what these words mean. And she smashed it out of the park, got up the next day in front of all of the media and the people and just said, this is about kaitiakitanga.